Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to be taking a look at Shuri's deep dive, breaking it down and basically kind of starting to get a picture of how she might be as a champion, things that seem good and promising and things that I'm definitely very worried about. And as always with these deep dives, ultimately, they are just that, like a small tiny insight of how this champion will function. It's borderline impossible to kind of be confident whether a champion is going to be busted and broken or whether it's going to be, just a flop. When it comes to deep dives, also one thing that we have always kind of experienced is that the damage output and numbers are possibly the most misleading thing. Yet I am here saying again that by the look of it, I am quite worried about her numbers and the time it takes to ramp her up. And that is the biggest kind of worry, because she is 100% definitely kind of like a ramp-up champion. Much worse so than, let's say, Omega Sentinel. Because Omega Sentinel's ramp-up can be recovered much more quickly and can be, secondary to whatever she does. With Shuri, I'm not so sure. But, again, it's deep dive. It's impossible to say. We're gonna have to wait and see when the champions actually come out and we get to play with them. So let's start with the obvious. Yes, when you ramp her up to the maximum in Labyrinth of Legends fight, she can drop a big level 3 or have a very big amount of shock damage, like 5,000 per tick. So in a very long form content, she can ramp up fine. Do we as a community really care about it? No, because we don't play long form content often, and we definitely don't typically rank up many champions for it. Most people don't even bother with Abyss or Labyrinth, and those who do and did have already done it, and there are likely gonna be better options and will be better options. Therefore, if a champion is designed as like a long form ramp up champion, they better be bloody amazing. Otherwise, so what? In long fights, damage definitely can be there. Alright, so let's start with that. Shuri's ability accuracy can't be altered. That's a great piece of utility. Another amazing kind of domino counter in a sense. And that alone makes her very suitable for a ton of very annoying nodes. So this is a great ability to have. Grants her immunity to shock and precision effects that are on her own. This is also very cool because she's the first tech champion that's kind of pseudo buff immune. She's going to be effectively functioning in the same manner as a Quicksilver. Whenever you dex, nothing happens. Right, whenever you dex, you're just immune to your precision effect and you don't gain that precision. And therefore, it is going to be much easier to use her against Mystic champions or nodes like Buffet and stuff like that. And the fact that she doesn't have any buffs in her own kit means that unless you're facing something like Mojo or there's some node placing buffs on you, you won't ever have to worry, for instance, about EMP modification, Buffet, or a whole bunch of nodes. That is also very good. I love that. The next line I also really like. So there is a lot I like in this kit. Shuri's attacks are non-contact and deal energy damage instead, which automatically means that she can bypass a ton of contact nodes and contact abilities like Electro's damage back, so on and so forth. And obviously energy damage instead of physical. It has its benefits, it has its drawsides, but it's fine. But I think Shuri is the first champion that has all of her attacks as energy attacks. And all of them as non-contact. Like typically Ebony Maw and Havoc and Professor X, some of those hits in that combo still make contact. I think she's the first one where none of them do. Right. Now we're gonna take a look at her base mechanic. Kinetic Matrix, max charge is 10. Gain an indefinite matrix charge when struck or when blocking attacks. 5 on a well-timed block, lose 3 charges when struck by true damage. So this is one of the things that I'm not too keen on, because it looks like she will absolutely be reliant on being able to parry a lot. Now, we do know that there are plenty of champions, plenty of nodes, and plenty of abilities where you cannot do that, or don't want to do that. And if you cannot parry, I think her ramp-up is going to be like basically 10 times slower. So, she is going to be a parry champion. Not a parry-heavy champion necessarily, but a parry champion 100%. So, for instance, if we had a node like we had this week in Battlegrounds, it would be much harder to use her because you would need to parry a lot, which is something that you don't want to do because opponents regen a ton, but, you know, who knows. At max charges, new metric charges become armor up passives, increasing armor rating by a tiny bit for 1 second, dropping off 1 at a time, max armor ups 20. So she has access to passive armor ups if you parry extra hard. Light and medium attacks consume 1 energy charge to inflict a shock debuff, dealing absolutely tiny amount of damage. Those shocks, there will be a ton of them, but they don't do too much, especially the regular ones. Shocks inflicted with critical hits become critical shock passives, multiplying their energy damage by Shuri's critical damage rating. Now, these shocks will do more damage and are passives, and you will be able to basically maintain them the entire fight. Obviously, the fact that you can get like 99 of these each means that eventually you can do a crap ton of damage with these, but we'll see how it works out. So here's going to be an example. You basically parry, do a 5-hit combo, and you have 5 debuffs. Now, the fact that you can inflict that many shocks is a utility in itself, because it unlocks you, for instance, Thunderstruck nodes. It all, you know, synergizes extremely well with Spell Mastery. So again, there is quite a lot to like in that kit. But, and here we have the armor of passives. That's more or less how it looks like. Now, here is the thing also, on her heavy attacks, she can trigger Untouchable, which is Spot's mechanic, basically. She has no way of pausing it, and that Untouchable is kind of meant for you to be able to get your heavy attack in safer and quicker in order to refresh all of your shock effects with your heavy attack, but it also costs 10 of your kinetic charges, and then you can, like, miss for 10 seconds. Now, this is going to be one of those abilities that possibly can also mess people up fighting against Shuri, because if she randomly charges heavy attack with 10 kinetic charges, then you're gonna miss that. But we'll see. I didn't think she's gonna be too troublesome of a defender. So here you can see that you have 15 shocks, convert that, and you refresh all of your shocks. So that's more or less what the heavy is going to do. Now, her level 1 gives you the matrix charges, so there is a way to gain them outside of parry, but it's going to be significantly slower to do so. And it also gives you these precision charges, basically. And to kind of make those precision charges super simple, each of those charges is a guaranteed crit. Every time you crit, you consume 1. And the more shocks on the opponent you have, the more of these precision charges you gain on your level 1. So if you want to play her, you can play her as a champion that basically can have guaranteed crits throughout most of the fight. But again, without any attack multipliers in her kit, having access to guaranteed crits does not necessarily equal great amount of damage, like in the sense of Misty Knight. Misty Knight can have guaranteed crits for the entire fight, but her damage is hardly, you know, the stuff of legends. So there are very interesting mechanics to her, for sure. These guaranteed critical hits on level 1 can be very utilitarian or useful in a sense. And then her level 2, what did her level 2 do? Her level 2 basically refreshes all of the shocks on the opponent, and inflicts some more of the critical shocks. That's her level 2. There, I missed my special bit here. You can see that on level 2, all of those shocks have been paused for the duration of the special attack. The durations have been refreshed, and at the end of it, you gain more. And that's the level 3 burst damages, where basically for each shock the opponent has, they take a big burst damage. That's more or less her level 3. And her signature ability against special attacks, Shuri can block unblockable attacks and has 5% chance, perfect block chance for each of her personal armor passives. And it sounds kind of nice. It doesn't sound like she needs it 100%, but it definitely sounds like a good ability to have. So again, I think both of the champions next month are perfectly usable, unawakened, but obviously awakened ability do give you some nice benefits. Atuma was kind of similar in a sense. So blocking the unblockable. Oh no, wait, it's not. Yeah, against special attacks. If it would be all unblockable attacks, then it would be very, very powerful. But it's just the special attacks. So yeah, it's a very good ability to have, but I don't think, you know, it's necessarily something to absolutely chase for. And also, the signature levels seem to also only change your chance of perfect blocks. I don't know how important it is going to turn out to be, but I have a feeling they're going to make her like a super high prestige champion, so who knows. But again, here we can see the rotation, and here we can see a 22k Shuri going up against the 60k Cyclops. So I don't know where it is or what other forces there are in play. But we can see that it takes a while. It takes a while in that execution. You're like 80 hits in, and yes, your special attacks are obviously multi-hit, but it's not like you gain any extra power gain and stuff like that. And I think at this point, she has dropped like a level 1, a level 2, a level 1, and about to drop a level 2, something like that. So I think, you know, this is about 6 bars of power in a fight. And based on that, you know, yeah, at this point, yeah, of course, 88 hits in the fight, you have 2000 shock damage per tick, and that looks solid. But it took 88 hits to get here. It took like, what, 5-6 bars of power to get here. So, I am worried. I always say that, you know, do not trust the damage in deep dives. But it doesn't seem viable in any content that isn't super long form content. Right. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the deep dives yet again have been extremely misleading, but who knows? But I definitely have to bring it up. That being said, let's take a look at the synergies. Now, synergy members gain 10% health and 10% shock and bleed potency. You know, it's neat. It's not a bad synergy. There had to be one with the Black Panthers. Now, this one is very cool. With Atuma and Namor, start each fight with 10 indefinite precision passives. These precisions are consumed by light hits and medium hits to become guaranteed critical hits. This one I really like the idea of just giving these champions 10 guaranteed crits to begin the fight. There's something very cool about it, and I like it a lot. And yeah, I think this can be quite cool synergy. This synergy is probably going to be the most useful one, though. Start the fight with an indefinite failsafe charge. When struck by a special attack 1 or 2, consume the failsafe charge again indestructible passive for the duration of the special attack. Simple as that. You're just allowed to eat one special 1 or 2 to the face, and you're going to be fine. So I think this is a very cool synergy. I think you can use it also kind of tactically to do it on purpose in some situations. And yeah, I really like this one. Especially for like Mr. Fantastic, because this can help Mr. Fantastic ramp up quicker as well, because when you play with Mr. Fantastic, if you get hit by opponent's special attack, they don't get one of the special attack charge debuffs on them, but they gain 2 of them. So this synergy, you can kind of eat a special attack on purpose with Mr. Fantastic to gain more power and ramp up quicker for your sig ability and all that. So I like this synergy a lot. I'll leave that. Women in STEM gain 100 attack rating and 200% block proficiency for each synergy member present. You know, it's neat, but again, since it's one of those for each synergy member present, you're pretty much never going to get a meaningful benefit out of it, because there is hardly any place in the game you will go in a team with Shuri, Wasp, Invisible Woman, and Thor Jane Foster. You're just not going to do that. So it could have been a cool synergy, but since it's, you know, if they made it gain 300 or 400 attack rating and like 800 block proficiency for each or something like that, it would be very good. This way, it's just not. And synergy with Misty Knight, shock and cold snap effects gain 20% potency. This is good for Shuri. This is very good for Shuri. And are paused during the opponent's special attacks. So this is very, very, very good for Shuri. It's going to be much easier to maintain your shocks like this. For Misty Knight, I don't think it matters at all. Misty Knight's Cold Snap often doesn't even make appearance in many fights, and when it does, it's not about Cold Snap or Cold Snap damage, it's about the Frost Burst. And yeah, so I don't think this matters to Misty Knight at all. And this last one is kind of neat, it's nothing too crazy. For every 5 personal shock effects removed by personal abilities, inflict an identical shock effect. And this one just helps Nebula when you drop a level 2. If you do your max charges, you gain like 4 extra shocks, which might as well, which is 10% at that moment. And for Shuri as well, when she converts her regular shocks into passive shocks, you just gain like 1 or 2 more. I don't think this is that big of a deal either. So those are the synergies, and that's Shuri in general. And Shuri is kind of like a champion that I absolutely love from one side, I do like the fact that she's a tech champion that doesn't gain buffs naturally, ever. Yes, you can, you know, put a buff on her with a node or a synergy or something, but in a regular fight, for instance, against Mystic champions, you can dex as much as you want, you can do whatever you want, there's just going to be no MD. I like that. I like her immunity to ability accuracy reduction. Absolutely love that. I like the fact that all of her attacks are non-contact attacks, projectiles. Love that. Love the fact that she has access to guaranteed crits. And I think that's kind of where the love ends and the worrying starts. Because she does seem like she's going to be very ramp-uppy champion. And whether she's viable in day-to-day content, whether you can use her in, you know, in KVQ, I'm sure you're going to be able to use her if you can make her gain 100% or 200% attack rating. But whether she's going to be viable for stuff like AQ, Valgrants, AW, much of the story content, I don't know. And that will obviously ultimately decide whether she is a good champion or not. It's going to be all in that base damage output in kind of like a minute-long fight. Or, yeah. We'll see about that. Let me know what you guys think, though. How did you guys like her abilities? And I'm going to catch you guys later. See ya. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the